In loving you, I discovered something new, something I was never prepared to find, and perhaps the strangest part is that you may not even realize what you awakened inside me. You may think you were simply someone who entered my life, someone whose presence changed a few ordinary moments, someone whose name slowly became familiar to my heart. But there was something hidden beneath every conversation, every silence, every glance, every moment when I found myself thinking about you long after you had gone, something I could not explain. At first, I thought loving you would simply mean learning more about you. I thought I would discover your favorite things, your fears, your dreams. The stories behind your smile, the reasons you sometimes became quiet when the world became too loud. I thought love was about knowing another person until there were no mysteries left. I was wrong, because the more I learned about you, the more I discovered myself, and that realization frightened me more than I want to admit. There were parts of me I had buried so deeply that I had almost forgotten they existed. Parts of me that had stopped believing in tenderness. Parts of me that had become comfortable with disappointment because disappointment was easier to survive when you expected it. Then you appeared. You did not arrive with thunder. You did not announce that you were about to change everything. You simply walked into my life, and somehow, without asking permission, you began opening doors inside me that I had locked years ago. At first, I resisted it. I told myself that you were only a passing chapter. I told myself that people come and go, that feelings rise and disappear, that attachment is dangerous, that hope can become a beautiful word for future pain. So I tried to keep a distance. I tried to remain reasonable. I tried to convince my heart that you were not becoming important. But hearts have a strange way of revealing the truth when the mind is determined to hide it. I started noticing little things. The way your presence could change the atmosphere of an entire room. The way one message from you could somehow make an ordinary day feel different. The way your silence could make me wonder whether something was wrong. The way your happiness began to matter to me even when I had nothing to gain from it. And then one day, I realized something that made me stop completely. I was no longer simply hoping that you would stay. I was hoping that life would be kind to you, even if I could not be there. Even if I was not the person standing beside you when your dreams finally came true. Even if your future somehow led you somewhere I could not follow, I still wanted you to be happy, and that was when I understood that something inside me had changed. Because before you, I thought love was about being chosen. You taught me that love could also be about wanting someone to find peace, even when your own heart is still searching for it. But there was another discovery waiting for me, one I did not see coming. Loving you made me realize how much I had forgotten about myself. I had spent so much time trying to become what other people needed that I stopped asking what I needed. I had learned how to be strong for everyone. I had learned how to smile when I was exhausted. I had learned how to say, "I'm okay," when my heart was quietly begging someone to ask again. I had become an expert at carrying things without letting anyone see the weight. And then you looked at me differently, not necessarily because you knew everything I had survived, not because you had some magical ability to read my thoughts, but somehow, your presence made pretending feel unnecessary. Around you, I began wondering what would happen if I stopped performing strength and simply became honest. What would happen if I admitted that I was tired? What would happen if I admitted that I was afraid? What would happen if I admitted that I wanted to be loved? Without having to earn it every single day, those questions began following me everywhere, and slowly, something beautiful began happening. I started becoming curious about the person I had been before the world taught me to be afraid. I started remembering the dreams I had abandoned, the places I wanted to see, the things I wanted to create, the words I wanted to say, the life I secretly imagined before disappointment convinced me to lower my expectations. You did not give those dreams to me. You simply reminded me that they were still there, and perhaps that is one of the most powerful things another person can do. Not rescue you, not complete you, not become your entire world, but remind you that there is still a world inside you worth discovering. Sometimes I wonder if you know how much your existence changed the way I see ordinary things. A song can suddenly carry your memory. A certain time of day can make me remember something you said. A familiar place can suddenly feel different because I once imagined you standing there. Even silence became meaningful. Before you, silence was empty. After you, silence became a place where I could hear everything I had been too distracted to notice. My own thoughts, my own fears, my own hopes, and the quiet voice inside me asking a question I had avoided for years. What if you stopped running from what your heart actually wants? I did not have an answer, not then. Maybe I still don't. But I began searching, and the search changed me. There were nights when I would lie awake thinking about how strange destiny can be, how two people can live completely separate lives for years without knowing the other exists. How countless roads, choices, mistakes, delays, and unexpected moments can somehow bring two people into the same place at the same time, and then you meet, you look at each other, you speak, something feels different, and you begin wondering whether coincidence is really as simple as people say. Maybe some encounters are not meant to last forever. Maybe some are meant to awaken something. Maybe someone can enter your life for a season and still leave an imprint that remains for decades. Maybe some people arrive not to give you the future you imagined, but to prepare you for the person you are becoming. And then there are those rare connections that make you wonder whether the story is still being written. That is what loving you taught me. It taught me not to demand immediate answers from life. It taught me that not every unanswered question is a punishment. Sometimes the unanswered question is where hope lives, because if everything were already decided, there would be nothing left to discover, and I am still discovering. That is the part one cannot explain. Every time I think I understand what you mean to me, something new rises from the depths of my heart. One day, I think you are the person who taught me how to love. Another day, I think you are the person who taught me how to let go. Then another day comes, and I realize you taught me something even more difficult: how to wait without losing myself. How to hope without becoming desperate. How to care without controlling. How to love without turning love into a cage. That lesson did not come easily. There were moments when I wanted certainty. I wanted answers. I wanted to know where we were going. I wanted to know whether the feelings I carried were shared somewhere inside you. I wanted the universe to open a door and simply tell me, this is where the story ends. But life did not do that. Instead, it gave me another lesson. It said, keep walking. So I did, and every step taught me something. Sometimes the distance between two hearts is not measured in miles. Sometimes it is measured in fear. Sometimes two people can stand close to each other while carrying entire worlds they are afraid to reveal. And sometimes the greatest distance is not between two people at all. It is between who you are and who you are becoming. Loving you forced me to cross that distance. I had to confront the version of myself that expected abandonment. I had to confront the part of myself that believed affection always came with conditions. I had to confront the voice that whispered, "Don't get too attached, because eventually they will leave." And for the first time, I asked that voice a question: what if they don't? The silence afterward was almost frightening, because sometimes healing begins when you finally question the beliefs that once protected you. You made me question mine. You made me wonder whether my past was actually predicting my future or simply explaining why I was afraid of it. And that distinction changed everything, because my past may explain why I built walls, but it does not have the authority to decide who I become. That realization felt like standing outside a locked door and discovering that I had been holding the key all along. I just never believed I was allowed to use it, and perhaps you were part of that discovery, not because you came to save me, but because loving you gave me a reason to stop hiding from myself. There is something else I discovered. Something even more unexpected. I discovered that love can exist without noise. It does not always arrive as dramatic declarations. Sometimes it is simply remembering something small. Noticing when someone's voice sounds different, wondering whether they ate, hoping they made it home safely, wanting them to sleep peacefully after a difficult day. Thinking of them when you see something beautiful, smiling at a memory you never expected to treasure. Love can be incredibly quiet, and yet somehow, quiet love can become the loudest thing inside your heart. There were moments when I tried to measure what I felt. I asked myself how much I loved you. I asked how deep it was, how serious it was, how long it might last, but eventually I realized that some things